Welcome to this new video. I'm the PC Collector, and today I'm going to bring you a very particular and interesting machine. Why it is interesting? Because today I am featuring one of the very first IBM ThinkPads ever made, the IBM ThinkPad 340. While it is not the first, although some sources stated it's an understandable mistake, because the model naming customs IBM had for ThinkPads on that time was quite confusing and completely unintuitive, because it didn't follow any um, any logical order. At the start, they started with three series, originally as touch screen tablets. Yeah, touch screen tablets in 1992. But they quickly realized that it was a very good name, and they decided to merge that with the PS Note laptops and create a joint series with both laptops and tablets. That would be short-lived, because tablets would be discontinued around 1993, and only 3 of them would be released, if I'm not mistaken. But besides the tablets, there would be originally 2 series: the 700 series, which would be based on microchannel, the same architecture most of the PS2 series of desktops used, and the 300 series, which would be based on the normal ISA architecture. But well, why I say that it is confused? Because there was the 300, but then there were the 320, but then they jumped to the 307, and then the 340 came later. Okay, but maybe the 340 is a lower model. No, the 340 is actually an improved version of the 360. So I don't really know what is the logic that numbers follow. It's true that this model can't be serviced, or at least theoretically they can't, while the 307 has the same system some of the 700 series have, in which you can raise the part where the keyboard is and access to everything. But well, if I open the laptop, you can see that it is a quite standard laptop for the time, with a 9-inch monochrome screen. It already has the classic track point, and well, it has I don't remember which is the video card, but wow, one of the typical video cards laptops had at that time. And well, this machine is quite conventional for a 1994 machine, except for the fact that it has a rather unconventional CPU. It doesn't has an Intel. It doesn't has an Intel 486 CPU, but instead it has the IBM 486 SLC2 running at 50 MHz. And why that CPU is interesting? Well, that CPU is interesting because it was the first we could say successful CPU which was specifically designed for laptops. It roots from an arrangement that IBM and Intel reached when IBM introduced the PS Note series, because at that time IBM wanted a CPU dedicated for laptops, but Intel didn't see any profit on releasing a dedicated laptop CPU. So instead, they reached an agreement with IBM in which they would get the rights to manufacture and modify the 386 SX CPU, and they could do pretty much everything they wanted, and so they use it for their laptops. But by the time the 386 CPU was already quite obsolete, so it wasn't really successful. But then IBM used that CPU to create the SLC. They pretty much took the 386, added the 486 instruction sets, and otherwise left the architecture of the previous CPU untouched. The idea was to create a CPU which had a performance comparable to a normal 486, but with a much lower power consumption. It had a consumption of around 2 watts or so, which was quite impressive. And it has a decent performance. It wasn't as good as a normal 486 CPU. Also, it inherited the internal 32-bit, external 16-bit of the 386, which imposed some restrictions for the like, for example, that it only could use 16 megabytes of RAM, but none of those machines accepted more than 12, so it wasn't an issue regardless. Those CPUs were more or less successful, but they had a K-flow which became apparent in 1995 when Windows 95 was released. And due to it having an external 16-bit architecture, it has awful performance on 32-bit applications, but well, those machines were intended to be using MS-DOS or Windows 3.1, so that was an issue. But regardless, IBM needed to solve those flaws, and they released an enhanced version which was true 32 bits and was the 486 BL and BL2. And unlike the SLC, it had a BL3, which was equivalent to the DX4. And well, if you have listened to this long thing, you will be maybe wondering why, if I say that this CPU was moderately successful, why it was very used. And the reason is that the agreement Intel and IBM reached stated that IBM could only sell them on their own machines or as upgrades for their existing machines. which limited their potential customer base. That wasn't really a bad problem because other than the power consumption, they didn't really offer anything over other 486 CPUs, but they were relatively popular as upgrades for other IBM machines because IBM offered them as upgrades for a lot of systems which originally had 286 and 386 CPUs, and for those machines they were huge upgrades. And well, now to the business. On this machine, I intend to do pretty much the same as I do on most of the machines I feature here. I plan to do maintenance. I have to replace the CMOS battery. I have to get rid of that nickel cadmium backup battery, which is depleted and is miraculously it didn't leak, so I'm only going to take it out and get rid of it. And Windows 3.1 customized by IBM with a custom load screen running on top of IBM DOS 6.3. It's a software. It has software which I don't have any way to recover, and yeah, it's well. How many times do you find a 30 years old computer which has the original drive and the original system? Not very often. So in this case, it is worth keeping the original system, and I plan to do so. Well, in order to do that, I have to take it apart because yeah, the drive can be easily accessed. It requires a significant amount of disassembling to reach the hard drive. Okay, to access the drive, I have to remove the battery, which is here. Hey, it's a nickel cadmium battery. It means that maybe I can repair it. Okay, I'll leave it aside. I have to remove the top cover, which requires taking out those 3 screws. I'm going ahead and assuming that they are normal, yeah, they are normal screws. So one screw, 2 screws, 3 screws. To open this. Okay, and this should came out okay easily. Okay, nice. So now keyboard has. Okay, one moment. Okay, so I should. Okay. Okay, yeah, easy. Okay, the handbook makes it looks it look harder than it actually is. These screws. Okay. I'm going to need a bigger screwdriver. Okay. I'm back with a bigger screwdriver. Not too big. Okay. Oh, for the love of God. Okay, one out. And two out. Okay. It's quite easy to take out the drive. Okay, now I have to take an image of the drive, which will take a while.